So, with this monster, not many people have probably like heard of it in comparison to, you know, dragons and beholders and mind flayers, but a grey render is so weird. It's so weird. It's like a asexually reproductive, massive dog, basically. It does not look like a dog. Look what it looks like. But it's cool. And on Myriad of Monsters, we're going to talk about it. Did you know that only a small percentage of you are actually subscribed? I forgot to do that for the past 2 recordings, but you gotta subscribe, man. It's so awful to look at that and just think, wow, I guess nobody loves us. Genuinely, subscribing really does help, so thank you for everyone that does. We're talking about the grey render. It is a pretty weird looking thing. Again, bring up the image. Sexy. Basically, it wants an intelligent creature to bond with and wants to be their best buddy. It is basically, you know, like a big old fierce, massive creature that will destroy you, but like will become besties with one person and will follow their every command. Yet they reproduce asexually, so like little young grey renders just pop off them after a while, and they don't like gather with others of their kind, they don't like their kids, they'll probably kick them off a cliff if they start biting at their leg, etc, etc. Now, a grey render in terms of how it acts is very much like a little dog. It will, you know, run around a house and wreck all of your shit and not care, but it is about twice your height and will stomp all over everything and probably murder a few people on the way and run around and do whatever the fuck it wants. And yeah, it's very chaotic. It says, in battle it fights very savagely and never willingly harms its master and stuff like that. And I think even depending on like what your DM rules, which I would rule it, is they wouldn't attack your allies because, you know, you could tell them not to and they'd be like, okay, because they're not trying to kill you. It can be somewhat obedient, but not really. It might like keep standing up when the master tells them to sit down and stuff like that. It's like a little bitch of a dog who doesn't really want to do what their master says, but like, sometimes will. It depends. As a DM, you could sometimes roll to just see the funny side of if a grey render will actually obey. It's definitely a very powerful creature. It's CR 12. Just might not be very nice sometimes to things, and even its master. Doesn't want to be, but will be, just unintentionally. It also has a grey render quirks table that just has a bunch of weird, fun stuff that are just dogs. So like, they hate horses, or they like to snuggle, which is an awful trait, or they howl when it rains, or they chase birds, stuff like that. It's really funny. It's really funny. I would use a grey render either as a very inconvenient ally for your parties for a small amount of time before they get bored of it and it, like, I don't know, jumps off a cliff trying to catch something. Maybe not that, but you know what I mean. But I would primarily recommend for a grey render using it as like a bad guy's little naive pet, if you will, that just runs around and kills anything for its master. It can definitely make for a foe that the party, if they learn about its proper nature, they might even want to, like, you know, try and reason with, or try and like find a way to give it treats. Something like that, I don't know. But it might be an interesting encounter for them to have if the bad guy sends out a grey render, and the grey render is clearly very avid for its master, but they might know the context behind why, and that they might even think they can save it. Because when you even tell someone the qualities of a creature, that like comparing them to a dog, a party is going to want to like protect it now. Let's talk stats, shall we? Grey renders are pretty powerful. They're CR 12, like I mentioned earlier. They're large monstrosities of a chaotic neutral variety. What did you expect from that description? Their armor class is 19, which in my opinion for the CR 12 is too high. Generally the way that D&D works to kind of keep the balance is that if your party has like a +8 or 9 to hit, enemies are going to probably have about a 16 or 17 AC. Definitely the balance starts to get like thrown out of whack at around levels 10 and 11, when your party can pretty much spam advantage as much as they want at some certain point. That druid just keeps casting fairy fire, and you're like, okay, well they finally failed the save, so there you go. And then they get advantage forever. But still, 19 is too high in my opinion. Maybe bump that down to 18 or 17. Even that one little number down can greatly impact the party being able to hit them more. You want to hit more than you're missing. It's more fun that way. Hit points are an average of 189, which is decent. For a CR12, kind of lacking. I would recommend bumping that up. Because sure, the party can hit a lot, but you want the creature to be able to live a long time. So maybe if you're reducing the armor class, increase the hit points, etc, etc. Good old speed of 30 feet. I think that should be like 40 feet in my opinion. Their stats are pretty lacking in my opinion as well. Strength is 19, not even 20. Ouch. For a CR12 monster, gotta be higher than that. Dexterity is 13, Constitution's 20, mainly for the big hit points, and also the good saves. Intelligence is 3, Wisdom's 6, and Charisma's 8. About what I expect. You can really exploit a lot of the Grey Render's weaknesses. It is built to be just like a bad guy's little minion that you're supposed to fight and have a bad time with, but can very easily just like cast Bane on it and now it's useless. Stuff like that. It definitely is made to kind of be like a distraction from hitting the bad guy. Saving throws are Strength and Con are proficient, which is cool. It's proficient in Perception, because everything is, it should be, because then the party have a somewhat decent challenge to stealth the creature. Dark Vision of 60 feet, nothing to write home about, maybe like 120. Can't speak, which is cool, and it can, I imagine, can understand a few basic language prompts if it's been taught. This thing has a multi-attack action that makes 3 attacks, 1 with its bite and 2 with its claws. The damage on these, I feel, is very lacking. There's some interesting combos you can pull with this, which I'll talk about in a sec, but the numbers are not there for a CR12 creature. The bite is a 5-foot range plus 8 to hit attack that has an average of 17 damage, 2d12 plus 4 piercing, and if they're medium or smaller, they need to make a strength save or they're pushed prone, which is a neat combo with the claws because they deal an extra 2d6 bludgeoning damage on a prone target. They have a better reach as well, but do less damage, only about 13 on average. With a decent round of you hitting every attack, there's gonna be like an average of 57 damage for a CR12 creature a turn. And that is if all 3 of them hit and a target fails the strength saving throw. Very lacking, very, very lacking in my opinion, because you're up at the high ACs at that level. My paladin at level 6 has 21 AC because they picked up plate. I did not give them that. They worked very fucking hard for it. That was the only thing they saved up for like 20 sessions. So like, I'll give them it. But like, yeah, 21 AC is very big. And honestly expect your allies to have more AC than enemies as you get further into the game. I would definitely bump up the attack damage, give it an extra d12 or d8, and also increase the Grey Render's strength, because that is also very lacking in my opinion for such a high CR creature. You could also make it a huge creature just for the fun of it, to kind of justify that, give it more strength and con and stuff like that. It also has a reaction that can kind of account for some of the damage lack. It can make a claw attack against anything within reach so long as it takes damage from anything. It's like a Hellish Rebuke but better. You can choose who to hit with that. That's an extra maybe 13 to 20 damage on top of the average of maybe 30 you're going to be dealing. Again, it's okay. Maybe I would say it gets to make 2 claw attacks, just to fully emphasize if you hit this thing it's going to get mad. But yeah, that's a Grey Render. I definitely want to use this thing at some point. I will be at some point. And the party is not going to want to kill it, and they probably won't be able to. Thank you guys for watching. Catch the next one when you can. Subscribe, like, watch our streams, listen to our podcast. We do a lot now. There's Discord and Patreon in the description. On Patreon, I do homebrew jazz, and you can also vote on what video comes next when we start getting too many comments, which might not happen for a while, but it might. You also get early access to my stuff, which is cool. Thank you guys for watching, and go away now.